Well, hello guys. This is new DM Ariel, and I want to welcome you to the first D&D Saturday of 2022 in my channel. Now, I know that it has been a while since I dropped a video again, but in my defense, all I can say is the end of 2021 was pretty tumultuous and busy, um, uh, with the holidays and everything else. And then on top of that, we had this here in Northern California, in the U.S. at least, we have been dealing with the rise in COVID cases with the Omicron variant. And I'm sure it's like that in other parts of the world too, actually. But we have had to deal with all that. Um, but now we're back. I'm back, and I thought today what I would do is start a new video series talking about dragons. I mean, it's in the name, Dungeons and Dragons, and dragons have been a pretty formidable opponent or part of the game since the very beginning. Um, Even though, admittedly, they were not as there weren't as many dragons, subraces or varieties as they are in the modern game. Fifth edition has a wonderful new uh, uh, supplement, a new source book. It's all about dragon, the treasury of dragons, and I highly recommend picking that up if you're a fifth edition player. But what I thought I would do, what start from the very beginning, first edition. Now I know there were dragons before first edition in basic, obviously, but I started playing D&D on first edition, so we'll go from first edition to the current game and examine not so much game mechanics, although we'll touch upon that a little bit, but mostly I want to see if there's has been any significant differences between the dragons where they first started out, other than increasing in numbers and subtypes, um, to the current game. So sit back and relax and enjoy, and we'll take a look at the dragons of Dungeons and Dragons. All right, guys. So we are starting our look at dragons from first edition, and we're going to start with the monster manual. This is on for information, introductory information of the dragons is on page 29, and it says that the dragons. First of all, the dragons come in many colors, sizes, shapes, and alignments. Two sorts of dragons were the chromatic dragon and the platinum dragon, which are singular individuals, and there are no other type of no others of their type. Each dragon sort is treated individually after that in the manual. General information and characteristics are given, and basically what they did back then is they had 10 species of dragons, which had three general size categories, and they also varied in age. And as they got older, I don't know if this is something that is in the current. I'd have to check the fifth edition source book that I mentioned, or the fifth edition monster manual. If you guys know, just drop a line in the comment and let me know. But I'm pretty sure that this is the same in the current version where they got divided in terms of age, and so a very young dragon is not as powerful, obviously, as an older monster, and the very young ones specifically were 1 to 5 years in age, and they have one hit point per dice, and then you get to like adult, which is like 51 to 100 years in age, and they were 6 hit points per die. And then a very ancient dragon would be someone that's a dragon that's like 400 plus years old, and they were up in eight hit points. So as they got older, obviously their power level increments, and the uh, the way they do it, starting with third edition, is they have the challenge rating for the monsters, and so they didn't really have challenge ratings per se in first edition. It was just scaled. The PCs were scaled with the number of hit points per level, and then the monsters. You threw kind of monsters that were comparable. Because if you have a very strong high level monster, obviously is going to wipe out the party. So you don't necessarily want that right away. And the characters were like way more squishy in terms of they were a lot more vulnerable, especially um, in the lower lower levels. Unlike fifth edition, where it seems like it takes really a lot. Starting with fourth edition, where you have the healing surges. But I digress. Let's go over the different dragon types that you can encounter. Starting with the, I guess we'll start with the red dragon since this is what I have on my screen on my background. The red dragon is Draco Conflagratio horribilis. That's the Latin Latin designation or the scientific name of the beast. And they're very rare. Um, you get usually about 1 to 4 appearing at a time, and they are exceptionally intelligent according to the book. Their alignment though is chaotic evil, and so if you run into a red dragon, you're gonna be fighting it most of the time. You're not gonna be doing any uh, discussion. That's another thing that I'm not sure whether later editions really emphasize. I think they do because in lore, a fantasy genre, fantasy type stories, and all that stuff, you do get interactions between the PCs, the protagonists, uh, and the dragons, and sometimes the dragon they're trying to strike a bargain with them or solve a riddle, that type of thing. But the red dragons in first edition were exceptionally intelligent, and so they had a 75% chance of speaking. Um, and They also use magic. Most dragons will have some kind of fire weapon or fire breath, rather. And depending on what type of what type of dragon it is, they'll either have like fire or lightning or freeze breath, some kind of type of breath power. But the red dragon also has a 40% chance of use of magic. So you got to be careful when you approach them because they can spring they have multiple types of attacks, I guess. And 20% of the time though they're sleeping, so you'll be lucky about 20% of the time. That the rest of the time you have to be careful because they will pounce on you if they're awake. Um, see. The red dragon is usually found dwelling in great hills or mountainous regions. As with most others of these species, they make their lairs in subterranean caves and similar places. They are very greedy and avaricious. Of all evil dragons, this sort of the worst dragon that you can um, encounter in first edition, save for Tiamat herself. So they did have Tiamat, the famous Tiamat multi-headed dragon, was a part of the lore, even as far back as first edition Monster Manual, which was dated in 1977. And then for each different brackets, like all of them, they get as they get older, they get more powerful, and they have multiple multiple types of attacks. Not just their breath weapon, but they can damage you with their claws, bites, and other forms of multiple attacks. All right. Next, we talk about we have the blue dragon, Draco. I'm sorry. Uh, yeah, blue dragon is the Draco Electricus, Draco Electricus, because they have electricity power. I'm guessing blue dragons typically prefer deserts and arid lands. Like others of the kind, their lair is always some vast cave of underground cavern. The attack of a blue dragon is claw, bite, or use of its breath weapon. A blue dragon is capable of discharging a bolt of electricity, lightning in a straight line. Um, Speaking blue dragons, which are able to use spells, um, do more damage as they go up in levels, and they have a 60% chance of speaking, but only a 30% chance of using magic. So about 70% of the time, you won't have to worry about them having multiple attacks other than their regular bites and claw attacks and their breath lightning attack. And they sleep 30% of the time, so you might get lucky and stumble upon one that is not fully awake. Um, right then. Uh, and then their alignment is lawful evil, though, so they're not necessarily always of a chaotic neutral or a chaotic evil alignment. standard magic resistance like other dragons in first edition. All right, guys. Next is the Black Dragon, Draco causticus sputum, as the scientific Latin name. Very uncommon in frequency. The black dragon is typically found in miasmal swamps or marshes, although they also inhabit subterranean layers as well. For black dragons, always seek to lair in deep, dark caves, the book points out. They tend towards the midpoint between law and chaos in their evil. So their alignment is chaotic evil. So you go up against a black dragon, then you know that you're going to be fighting it, not really having a discussion with it. He's going to be attacking you, and he does have multiple. He or she has multiple attacks. Um, it is has standard magic resistance in first edition, so their chance of speaking is 30%. So you can actually um, I take that back and say when I said you'll definitely be fighting it, but sometimes 30% of the times you might be able to convince it to do something. Good luck with that. Their magic use percentage is only at 10%, so will not be using magic like 90% of the time, and it will be sleeping half the time. So you got a 50-50 chance you stumble upon a lair. You might be able to attack it before it's even conscious, awake. It will be in a slumbering state half of the time. So we talked about them being in the marshes, what type of layers they prefer, in the caves, and the black dragon has the usual attacks, the claw, bite, and breath weapon. In this case, it's spitting acid in a half wide stream, which extends 6 feet in a straight line, beginning at the height of the dragon's head and traveling in the direction and at the angle which the monster head was facing at the time of discharging the acid. Black dragons, which can speak and are capable of using magic, can employ one first level spell each stage of their maturity. And so we did point that the different dragons at different ages have different levels of power, and that's how at least it was delineated in first edition. So you have um, the older it gets, obviously, the more powerful the beast will become. Okay, next we have the green dragon, the Draco Chlorinus nauseus respiratorus. Um, a rare. Also, all of these dragons are pretty rare. You only appear encounter one to four at max, which is four dragons is kind of like on the high end, but usually only like one of them. Um, and it's only in layer 40% of the time, so you don't always find them. The race of green dragons prefer to locate their underground lairs in or near woods or forest of the bleaker, wilder sort if possible. They are very nasty tempered and thoroughly evil. So, lawful evil, intelligence average. Um, they have a 45% chance of speaking to you and a 20% chance of magic usage. But you can also find them sleeping 40% of the time. So that's advantageous to adventurers almost half the time. Um, the talking green dragons are able to use magic, depending on their level. So, the higher levels they are, of course, they're going to be more powerful, like all the other races. And they have their usual attacks. What's interesting about the Green Dragon is that I read a book by that I recommend and probably make if you can find it. It was around 2008 and it was written by James Wyatt, if I'm not mistaken, along a host of other um, game developers that were working on the fourth edition of D&D, and it kind of gives like a game developer's perspective on how they were how they were gonna approach the dragons, approach the new monster manual. So maybe I'll leave a link on the description. You can find it on eBay pretty cheap probably, but it's a quick read. But it talks about how they wanted to make the green dragon more distinctive from the other races of dragons. particularly from the third to the fourth edition Switch. So you should check it out if you get a chance. All right, guys. Now we come to the chromatic dragon or Tiamat the dragon. Of course, Tiamat the dragon has been around since the first edition, and uh, continues to this day with multiple popular modules, including the fifth edition, The Rise of Tiamat, and it, but its very first appearance was here. It's a very rare dragon, chromatic dragon with multiple heads, as you can see in the background illustration. Um, Very intelligent, genius level intelligence, as a matter of fact, with a whole mess of hit dice. For first edition is 128 hit points, which is pretty powerful beast. Special attacks include a breath weapon, poison, and magic use. And it's able to speak 100% of the time, so you can talk to it all the time. Um, and magic use is able to use 100% of the time, so it's always going to attack you with multiple attacks if it wants to, with magic, with the breath weapon, and with the bites and the claws. So it's a very dangerous, high level beast for sure. Um, Tiamat rules the first plane of the nine hells, where she spawns all of evil dragon kind because her alignment is lawful evil. Um, so, but yeah, she's the ruler of the nine hells. She hates all the good as fiercely as she loves cruelty and hoarding wealth. She's seldom outside of her lair. Only about 10% of the time will she be outside her domain, her lair. And occasionally she comes to Earth to place a new dragon or to seek more treasure. She can travel astrally and she can also travel through the ethereal plane. Although her sheer size prevents claw attacks, Tiamat can bite with all five of her heads, sitting with her tail at the same time. Oh, I'm sorry, stinging with her tail at the same time. Um, Breath with one or more of the heads, or cast spells with one or more heads at the same time. Tiamat's heads are white, black, green, blue, and red. Not sure if they're the same color. They're probably the same color in later editions. I'll have to check. Her breath weapons correspond to the color of each head, exactly duplicating the size and shape of the appropriate dragon's breath weapon and doing damage equal to a huge ancient dragon of the species applicable. So, bottom line, very powerful beast. Because it has the multiple heads, it's able to use the different breath weapons for all the uh, other species of dragons. In fact, each of her heads can withstand 16 hit points damage before going out of commission until regeneration replaces it the following day. When encountered in her lair, Tiamat will always have five consort guards with her, one huge adult male dragon of the white, black, green, blue, and red types, respectively. So you're not going to encounter it by itself. So it's kind of like a boss fight if you go up against Tiamat, and you're going to have to fight her dragon minions before you even get to take a stab at her. So, very powerful first level um, dragon combination of multiple dragon heads, and very famous for that. For for that, even in later modules and later editions. So I think we'll stop there. There's a whole bunch of other. There's silver dragons. There's copper dragons, and we could go on for a long time. But this video is getting kind of long. I just wanted to get a taste, a little sample of the various type of dragons that are available in first edition. And I think in later videos, like I said at the top, we'll go ahead and compare them with the later editions, see if their lore has changed, or if they have they just become more complex beasts. Um, are their youth, age, characteristics applicable to their level of power? Things like that. Really go into more of a deep dive. Not some lore, and not so much the game mechanics because each system is different, as you all know. But the lore and the characteristics. There is the new source book that came out um, just last year, or this year, I forget, pretty recently. And it's the Treasure Dragon. uh, Fizbane's Treasury of Dragons for 5th edition. I'm going through that one, and that if you have a campaign based on dragons or Dragonborn, or just want to know more about the dragons in general, the different type of dragons, then that is a fantastic resource. It goes so much detail. It has maps of their lairs. It has the different sub races. It has NPC options, um, NPC options, backgrounds, minions. Well, I don't call them minions in 5th edition, but basically like henchmen, and all kinds of other goodies that a DM can incorporate into any campaign with featuring like you know dragon opponents. So uh, yeah, check it out if you get a chance. If you like this video, that's all I have for now. If you like this video, go ahead and subscribe, or hit the like button, sign up for alerts, all that good stuff. And I hope your year is going off to a great start. And I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks for checking us out.